ethical business practices that we generally see, and they are aided by highly skilled accounts professionals. So to keep a check on all this, there are professional bodies like the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and the Institute of Cost Accountants, and they have formulated a code of ethics, which is what is mentioned here on the slide. And it is also believed that ethics in accounting have become even more important now because we are involved a lot in international trade. So a lot of countries which we are involved with in mutual business with, what they are saying is they want us to adhere to globally accepted accounting norms in order to check and prevent fraudulent and unethical accounting practices. So what has the ICAI done now? It has mandated that the Indian accounting norms must now converge with the International Financial Reporting Standards, which is IFRS, to ensure better disclosure norms and prevent the profit book frauds that we come across. The most shocking accounting frauds that we've heard about are the Enron and the Satyam scandal. I want one of you to read this slide, Ethics of Finance Professionals.
Yes, ma'am, I will read.
Yes.
Ethics of Finance Professionals, Code of Financial Professional Ethics as per the guidelines of Financial Planning Standards Board India, FPSB, Code of Ethics, Client First. Place the client interest first. Code of Ethics 2, Integrity. Provide professional services with integrity. Code of Ethics 3, Objectivity. Provide professional services objectively. Code of Ethics 4, Fairness. Be fair and reasonable in all professional relationships. Disclose and manage conflicts of interest. Code of Ethics 5, Professionalism. Act in a manner that demonstrates exemplary professional conduct. Code of Ethics 6, Competence. Maintain the ability, skills, and knowledge necessary to provide professional services competently. Code of Ethics 7, Confidentiality. Protect the confidentiality of all client information. And Code of Ethics 8 is Diligence. Provide professional diligence diligently.
All right. Thank you, Nisha. So this is the Code of Ethics for finance professionals. And we'll now also see what is the Code of Ethics, which is there for accounting professionals. So looking at the increasing manipulation of the books of accounts, we see here that the ICAI has drawn up an elaborate list of rules and conduct for professionals' practices of chartered accountants in India. Now, this is to promote the ethical culture. So the idea is for people, whoever are practicing, the CAs, they have to follow the motto, which is service before self and extending beyond the legal requirements. That's the idea. So the institute aims to promote this motto as the mission of the account professional. Pride of service in preference to personal gain. Of course, it's self-explanatory: credibility, professionalism, quality of services, confidence, integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, professional behavior, and technical standards. We'll also see an example of Enron and how they committed the fraud and what was the Enron scandal all about. Just let me know if you can see the video. I'll play a video now. I want you to just let me know if it's visible for you. Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, I'm going to now go on mute and play this. If it is not audible, put it in the chat box. Because if I keep both on, then there'll be a lot of disturbance. Teja, my mail ID is already there in the chat box. Just see. If you can't find it, I will send it again.
Actually, I rejoined, ma'am, so I couldn't able to see.
Okay, I'll put it again.
Okay, ma'am.
Let me play the video and I'll put it.
At the start of 2001, Enron was the blueprint for large corporations, boasting 30,000 employees and an annual revenue of $100 billion. But by the end of the year, the company had garnered the title of biggest bankruptcy of all time, while Arthur Andersen, one of the Big Five, suffered a similar fate for their part in the scandal. So how did the energy giant, once valued at $70 billion, go from winning Fortune's most innovative company for 6 years in a row to bankrupt in the space of just a few months? Here's a story of fraud, corruption, and serious mismanagement. Here's how it happened. For some background, Enron was founded as a result of a merger between energy firm Internorth and utility company Houston Natural Gas back in 1985. American Ken Lay was appointed CEO, and legendary artist Paul Rand, who also made the logos for IBM, UPS, and ABC, designed the now infamous Enron E. The energy market underwent significant deregulation throughout the 80s and 90s, leading to extremely volatile prices and a belief that anything was possible as companies rode the bull market that followed 1987's Black Monday. Enron then opened its own trading subsidiary to maximize profitability, and Jeffrey Skilling was appointed CEO of Enron Capital and Trade in 1991. Skilling oversaw the introduction of mark-to-market accounting within the corporation. That is the practice of valuing your assets based on predictions of their future prices rather than on historical prices. And in short, it basically gave Enron the right to decide their own profits, without being held accountable for the accuracy of the valuations. Based on these optimistic calculations, Enron's revenue figures began to skyrocket as the 90s wore on. The firm was named as Fortune's best company to work for in 2000, as its stock price peaked at $90 a share, and its directors outlined their expectation of even further profits in the near future. As Enron invested hundreds of millions more into projects both in the US and overseas, the company was able to hide these losses behind false estimations of the new asset's value, like a power plant in the northeast of England. To cover any reported losses or cash flow issues, Enron would borrow money from its SPVs, special purpose vehicles, which were subsidiaries of the corporation capitalized with Enron stock, making it impossible for the lenders to retrieve their money if the energy company was struggling. The crashing of the dot-com bubble in 2000 hit Enron's assets hard, as they had now diversified into industries like video on demand and high-speed broadband networks. Investors were becoming more cautious and increasingly skeptical of the firm's complex business model, and by early 2001, serious questions were being asked of Enron's financial statements. Lay stepped down as CEO in February to be replaced by Skilling, with Enron's stock price halving to $40 in the 6 months that followed. Amid widespread speculation about the company's accounting methods, Skilling stepped down from his new role in August 2001. As Lay returned to his former position, analysts were downgrading Enron's stock rating, and Lay began selling millions of dollars worth of his shares in the firm. In October, Enron announced its first quarterly loss in 4 years thanks to taking charges of $1 billion from its underperforming assets, and the SEC began a formal investigation into its financial statements. During November, the company revealed it had overstated its profits by by $591 million between 1997 and 2000. Meanwhile, over 20,000 of its employees' 401k pension plans were locked for 30 days due to a change in administrator. A merger was agreed with close competitor Dynegy, but was called off due to concerns that Enron was still lacking transparency in its off-balance sheet debt. And on the 30th of November, the company's stock price hit rock bottom at just 26 cents a share, down from $80 back in February. And Enron filed for bankruptcy protection 2 days later on the 2nd of December, marking less than a year since it became the 7th biggest corporation in the United States. Thousands of employees lost their jobs and their life savings, and shareholders eventually sued banks like JP Morgan Chase and Citigroup for conducting deals with Enron, later winning $7.2 billion that was shared among the 1.5 million victims. Several executives went on trial for a range of charges related to the company's nefarious activity, including Lay and Skilling, who were charged with a total of 39 counts of fraud and conspiracy between them in January 2006, to all of which Lay died of a heart attack before the sentencing, but Skilling was sentenced to 24 years, of which he served 12 before being released in 2019. Not exempt from punishment were Enron's auditors, Arthur Andersen, who were one of the big 5 accounting firms, and also had their reputation dragged through the mud for their compliance in the fraud, destroying documents that were of relevance to the SEC, which was caused to void choice but to close, hence their absence from the Big Four we know today, although their consultancy branch does still remain in operation as Accenture. The fiasco saw the United States Senate impose much tighter regulations to prevent a repeat in future, namely the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which created a board to oversee audit reports for public companies and strict controls on what services these auditors could provide, not to mention the requirement for executives to sign off on all financial reports, meaning they could no longer plead ignorance to their firm's wrongdoings. Undoubtedly, the effects of the Enron scandal are still felt in the finance industry today. So let us know your thoughts and what you think the next Enron might be. And that
So that was the Enron scandal, and similar to this was also the Satyam one, which we had experienced in our country.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, to prohibit all these unethical accounting practices, the ICAI also prohibits members from pursuing another profession or taking financial interest other than fees and writing of books of accounts of the auditee company in order to prevent conflicts of interest that may lead to violation of conduct. Now, the purpose of all these code of ethics that we are reading or we're trying to understand is not to restrain an accountant's practice, but it is to remind them of their moral responsibility for preventing or minimizing damage to the society, clients, and the government. So again, brings us to the important point that ethics in accounting are critical for a country's economic progress, not only because money and money management is the key to all economic development as business enterprises, but the impact of these professional ethics goes well beyond the scope of business operations. We saw that it harms the nation's capability also to get more business, the economic well-being of its people, and it hurts the pockets of many pensioners and old people. For them, their livelihood is also affected. So it's extremely important that professionals and especially the accounting professionals take care of all these aspects. While we understand that there are code of ethics, and our experience has also shown us that the system of rules and regulations and controls through code of conduct may not be effective enough unless the accountants or the professionals themselves practice morality, are courageous and self-regulating to ensure ethics and prevent wrongdoings in their professions. So it's extremely important that we as professionals rise up to the occasion is what I'd like to say. That, so no amount of legislation or ruling in this direction would serve the purpose unless we believe that service before self and extending it beyond the legal requirements. So that's for us to understand that unless we are self-regulating, of course there are code of ethics to prevent all these flaws, but individuals have to exercise restraint and be self-motivated to prevent all these flaws. Next, we'll see present a slide, please. Present. The most important, pride of service in preference to personal gain. Let's talk about ethics of advertising. One of you read. Anyone? Teja, Khushbu, anybody?
Ma'am, shall I read?
Yes, Priya. Yes.
Ethics of advertising, prevailing unethical practices, misleading advertisement, especially in rural India, reasons for unethical behavior observed in Indian scenario, insensitivity, lack of care, concern, competition, greed. New emerging media that is free, easily accessible, easy to use, has mass outreach and no control. Preventive measures. Advertising Standard Council of India, a self-regulatory voluntary organization of the advertising industry, prescribes standards and code of conduct which needs to be followed strictly. Training for awareness, sensitivity.
Yes, Priya, very good. Read the next slide as well.
Ethics of advertising too. Legal actions can be taken against advertisement that ridicule caste, race, nationality, color and creed, goes against any provision of the Indian constitutions, incite people toward criminal activity, proactive cause disorder and violence in the country, breach laws or glorify obscenity or violence in any form, glorify terrorism, communal masquerade, criminality and so on. Ridicule the father of the nation, the national emblem, part of constitution or the images of the national leader or a state dignitary. Depict women in a depreciating manner, female portrayed in a manner that is obscene, exploitative or vulgar. Display distasteful visual content that goes beyond the established norms of good taste and decency. Exploit and discourage social evils like child marriage, bride burning, and dowry system.
Very good, Priya. Thank you. So these are some of the code of conduct for the advertising business. Similarly, we have code of ethics for media reporting as well. Again, some of the prevailing unethical practices are inaccuracy in reporting, no privacy for media, unfairness in presenting all sides, non-confidentiality of resources, of sources, preferential reporting, sensationalizing content, supporting stereotyping, no check on to verify if content age appropriate, empowering society. One of you read this, ethics of media reporting. And then we have the healthcare one. After that, we do the attendance. I have also shared this presentation with you. It's there in the Google Classroom. So this is also basically to make us aware that when we are working in any of the fields, there are code of ethics which govern us. There is a code of conduct that needs to be followed. All of us know it as professionals. Now it is for up to us to be self-regulated and follow it and ensure that we do not cause harm to the society or the people attached with it. Come on, quickly read it. I also have to show you a video on ethical consumerism. How can we become ethical consumers? Have I shown that to you? Yes, no?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
So all right, Priya, thank you. I think Priya is the only one today in class. Where are the others? I can see.
Ma'am, may I read?
Yes, Kushbu, go ahead.
Yeah. Ethics of media reporting. Reasons for unethical behavior observed in Indian scenario. Competition between growing number of channels. Accuracy compromised for speed. Competition between growing number of media platforms. Morals compromised for popularity or other interests. Possibility to take advantage of new technology, new platforms and breaching privacy. Preventive measures. Society of Professional Journalists (USA) Code of Ethics has four main tenets: seek truth and report it, minimize harm, act independently, be accountable. India does not have code of ethics for media professionals. Current affairs. The need of the hour is to have a media council with robust media ethics and code of conduct, similar to the due diligence as provided in the banking sector by the RBI. Dr. Subhash Chandra, Chairman, SL Group.
Very good, Kushbu. Continue to read the other one as well. These are ethics of healthcare
Ethics of healthcare services. Prevailing unethical practices. Refusal or delay in treatment. Unnecessary preventive tests and avoidable surgeries like C-sections, knee replacements, etc. Negligence or malpractice. Self-advertisement, quack, and fake medical degrees. False reports, bills. Reasons for unethical behavior observed in Indian scenario: lack of care, concern, lack of facility or availability, greed and stress.
Thank you, Kushbu. Thank you. Let's talk about the preventive measures. I want one of you to read this.
Yes, ma'am. May Arshad, am I audible properly?
Yes.
Ethical of healthcare service to preventive measures. The Medical Council of India is statutory body with the responsibility of establishing and maintaining high standards of medical education and recognition of medical qualification in India. It registers doctor to practice in India in order to protect and promote the health and safety of the public by ensuring proper standards in the practice of medicine. Indian Medical Association uh, is the only representative national voluntary organization of doctors of modern scientific system of medicine, which looks after the interest of doctor as well as the well-being of community at large. In 2011, the Medical Council of India, in a rare act, suspended the license of the President and Secretary of Indian Medical Association for 6 months on the ground that they had performed an unethical act in endorsing products of PepsiCo and Dabur.
Very good, actually. Continue to read this as well.
Uh, Current affair. The Indian Medical Association is drawing up a digital code of conduct for doctors to help them maintain the profession's code of ethics as a growing number of portals connect them with the patients. The doctor's body says soliciting patients through websites, paying fees to agents that host such portal, and doctors boasting of achievements in the social media would be
Yep.
dubbed unethical under this code. Many portals which aggregate doctors and database and host them seeking to fix appointment with one doctor over the other are violating the law. Yeah, violating the law by advertising and soliciting patients, which is not allowed under Medical Council of India ethics regulation. Portal like Practo and Help Mac- Medoc don't change doctor for registration. Many age startups in healthcare say they offer consumers more choice and help them to make informed decision. Such a codes of conduct, if framed, should not stifle innovation. Stifle innovation.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. So we see that code of ethics are there in all the professions, and the individuals have to be self-regulating to definitely follow them to ensure safety of the society and people involved in it. So I'm going to do the attendance first and then show you how can we as individuals become ethical consumers. And that completes our topic of professional ethics. Sankalp Agarwal. Aishwarya.
Sankalp is here. Sankalp Agarwal.
All right, Sankalp. Have you joined the Google Classroom, Sankalp?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you know there's an assignment that needs to be submitted today, right? Aishwarya.
Ma'am, Ashwarya is present.
Okay. Ashay. Shreya Majumdar. All right, Shreya.
Ma'am, Shreya is present.
Okay. I saw her in the chat box. Ankush. All right, Ankush. Devendra. Ankush, have you joined the classroom? Ankush? All right, okay. Devendra is not there, right? Aditya?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Khushbu?
Yes, ma'am.
Vasu?
Ma'am, Vashu is there.
Yeah, and Priya.
Yes, ma'am.
So Devendra is not there today. And Ashay. Ashwara, yes, I've given you the attendance. The FinTech group, Rupankita. Karthik.
Present, ma'am.
All right. Shashank. Jitesh.
Present, ma'am.
Jitesh.
Present, ma'am.
Utsav.
Present, ma'am.
Subhajit.
Present, ma'am.
Shravya.
Present, ma'am.
Disha.
Present, ma'am.
All right. The operations team now. Yash Meher.
Present, ma'am.
Ketan. Ritwik. Ritwik, are you there? Teja.
Present, ma'am.
Faizan.
Present, ma'am.
Arshad.
Present, ma'am.
Yash Gaurav. Gargav.
Present, ma'am.
Shivam. Shreya. Anshul.
Yes, ma'am.